Have you ever thought about launching an initial coin offering? Because today I'm going to share with you my checklist for ICO success. Hey, I'm Gregory from Dapp University, and today I'm going to share with you all the insight that I've gained from taking businesses from zero to ICO. So I've actually compiled everything in this video down into a document that you can download for free on my website over at dappuniversity.com. You can check the link out down below this video. And if you're new around here, be sure to click the like button down below and subscribe to the channel. That really helps these videos get found so that more people can learn about blockchain technology. So what are the main ingredients for ICO success? And this is really going to determine the checklist that I share with you today. Well, the two main ingredients that I've found for businesses who are trying to launch ICOs and how they can achieve success, the two factors are trust and confidence, okay? And that's going to be the theme that runs through every item in this checklist. So let's talk about that. You know, people want to have confidence in your project, and that would fall on a spectrum of like 0, which would be no trust, which would say, I think your project is a scam, I'm not going to give you any money, and I might even report you. All the way to, yes, I think that you're going to actually achieve what you're setting out to accomplish, and I have full confidence in your project, and I think that the value of your token is actually going to increase, and I'm going to get a good return on my investment. So that would be kind of the continuum of 0 to 10. And you want your project to fall as high in that continuum as possible. So that's the theme that's going to run through all this checklist. How can we get people to trust your project and see that it's going to be successful? And that will give them confidence to invest. Item number 1 in the checklist is actually a working project. You know, do you have something out there that's accessible for people to see, right? And this is not necessary, right? But it does move the investor up that confidence scale that I mentioned earlier in the video, right? If you have nothing, you know, you don't necessarily need it, but having something will make them much more likely to be like a 10, like I mentioned earlier. So a working project will definitely show them that, you know, you've already put money into this, that you're not just trying to, you know, put as little money as possible into a project or no effort into a project and then just try to raise capital, you know, for the token. And, you know, the more confident they are that you'll be around for a while because you've been around, you know, before and have actually spent time with this business. And that'll give them confidence that the token that they purchase will actually, you know, be there for the long run if they want to hold it, right? So item number 2 in the checklist, even if you don't have a working project, you really need a good white paper, right? And even if you have a working project, you still need a good white paper to talk about the vision of where your project's going, right? And this is going to be critical for your investors because this is your chance to communicate exactly what you intend to do with your project, right? So let me break down some of the elements of a really good white paper. The first thing is that your white paper should frame a problem that you're trying to solve and a problem that the investors can identify with, right? This should be something that, you know, can be solved by blockchain technology or, you know, that your business can uniquely solve. And it should be able to explain a really good, compelling solution for that. And that's really your chance to sell to the investor, is to show them that this is something that is worth investing in because that's going to give them more confidence that this will be around for a while or that their investment's actually going to be profitable. So another thing is to say why you're raising funds in the first place. Like, why do you need to raise funds and what are you going to do with them? Being really transparent with the investor in this way, you know, helps to slide them up that confidence scale that I was talking about earlier in the video. Also, another thing to answer in your white paper is why are you using the blockchain? Like, why are you holding an ICO? Are you actually using blockchain technology in your project? Because this is going to be something that if you don't need it for your project, then investors are going to slide down the confidence scale and not trust your project. So you need to explain why you've chosen to build your project on the blockchain. The next thing is if you're creating a utility token, like a token that actually does something in your ecosystem, is what does it do? Like if the investor purchases it and holds it for the long term, what benefit do they actually get by holding your token? Like why should they purchase it? This is another thing that you want to answer in your white paper. So here's an example of a really good white paper. This is actually a project that I worked on that's selling real estate on the blockchain. So they very clearly communicate the problem and the solution, which is, you know, that it's hard to actually buy and sell real estate. There's a lot of friction to overcome. And there's a huge, you know, pot of real estate assets over the globe, and it's a market that's ready to be taken over by the blockchain, basically. And so there are creating a project that's going to allow you to purchase real estate on the blockchain. And it's a nice lengthy white paper, very thorough. It's 33 pages. It really gives the investor something to look over and helps really instill confidence in the project. So the next item in the checklist is a high converting website. And this is going to be something that's going to help, slide the investor up the confidence scale and get them more likely to invest. So does your website look good or does it look bad? This is really basic, but if your website looks like it's built poorly or you didn't pay very much money to, build it, then why would people even want to give you money, right? It's sort of like going to an e-commerce website right now. If you went to an e-commerce website that was really sketchy, would you actually want to put in your credit card information, right? So this is going to be the same kind of thing, like if you're doing KYC user registration, like investors are going to have to submit confidential information to your business in order to be whitelisted to participate in the ICO. So if your website doesn't look like they should trust it, then why would they even go through that registration to give you money for the ICO? So a high converting website that looks really good, is clear, and communicates is essential to slide that investor up the confidence scale. So does the website, like the white paper, clearly communicate, what you're raising funds for? And the website should be consonant with the white paper. It should say the same kinds of things. It should reiterate a lot of what's in the white paper and make it, easy for people to see on mobile devices and things like that, so they can just check out the project. And, also, does your website support foreign languages? If you're trying to capture an international audience, sometimes you need international accessibility in order for other people who don't read English as well, or whatever language you decide to create your website in. And, does your website actually have FAQs on it, frequently asked questions that people are going to naturally have? And do you have answers prepared for them on the website so they don't have to email you and they can just get all of the information? That's going to help reduce the friction into sliding them up that confidence scale and for them to actually convert into an investor in your project. So here's an example of a really good website. This is actually a project that I built. This is a real estate company that's doing, real estate on the blockchain. And you can see this website looks really nice. It was well designed. It instills trust in the investor. It communicates clearly what the project's about. You can see a timeline of what they're working on, info about the token. And another factor that I meant to mention is who is partnering with your company? That's what they show here. And also, who is your team? Do they have experience and are they willing to actually show, their faces on their website? That's something that, instills confidence in investors, to see that you have people who have experience, who know what they're doing, that are starting a new business or, expanding a business, and that they, actually are willing to be featured in public. And also you can see the FAQs down here. So yeah, this is an example of a really good looking website that I built. So the next item in the checklist are smart contracts. You need a token smart contract and you need some ICO smart contracts, right? And these are two separate things. So I'm a blockchain developer, so I can tell you a lot about this type of thing. So basically your token is going to be obviously the currency that people are buying when they invest in your project. And, the smart contracts for the ICO are separate. Basically, your token is going to be controlled by your ICO smart contracts whenever you're raising funds. And there's a lot to think about whenever you're doing this. So you need a really good smart contract developer who has experience because, smart contracts are unchangeable pieces of code. Once they're on the blockchain, they're there for good. And so you need somebody who really knows what they're doing in order to create a token that's secure, that people will trust. All right. And there's a lot I could say about this. I don't want to go on for days. Again, you can check out the checklist that I've got on my website for free. And you can also contact me via email if you want to know more about this, if you're interested in, hiring a smart contract developer and trying to launch an ICO. You can just contact me and I'll try to walk you through more of this process because it can be very tricky. You have to really know what you're doing. So anyways, the token is something that you do not want to cut corners on, right? There's a lot of thought that goes into how your token works, how it functions. And this is kind of getting into the tokenomics, right? So tokenomics are basically defining the economics of the ecosystem of your token. Like, of all the tokens out there, how do they work? Where are they? Like, who owns which tokens whenever you're creating them in the ICO, right? And can the supply change? Can it increase? Can it decrease? There's a lot to think about whenever you're creating a token. You'll see this a lot with other tokens, like some of them will allow you to mint more tokens, some of them will allow you to burn tokens. You need to figure out your token distribution, like whenever you're having the ICO, whenever tokens are created, like a certain percentage needs to go to the investors, a certain percentage usually goes to the business and certain parts of the business, and you need to communicate that clearly with the investors because that's also going to give them confidence. If you sell 1 million tokens, but the investors only own 10% of them, like that's not really good economics for them to be able to trade. It very limits their supply, and that doesn't really help them. And whenever you're creating, the ICO smart contracts, there are things like caps, like hard caps and soft caps. These are, minimum fundraising amounts and maximum fundraising amounts, and those are factors whenever you're, trying to pitch this to investors. That's going to change their confidence in knowing that you're trying to raise at least a certain amount. It's like Kickstarter, right? There's a lot to think about, and that's something I can always talk to you about. Like I said, just contact me if you're interested. You also have to think about token vesting. Like, are your tokens locked for a certain period of time? Are there reserves for the funds that you raised? Are they locked for a certain amount of time? Like, where do the funds go? So there's a lot to think about whenever you're trying to put together, your tokenomics for the ICO. All right, the last thing is user registration. And this is something that is essential when people are going to trust your website, right? So you need to determine whether you're going to capture user registration information or not, if that's a requirement for you. If it is, you'll need to determine, what information you need to capture from investors in order for you to verify them to participate in the ICO. So whenever they come through your registration workflow, you might need to capture address or name. At the very least, you're going to want to get their email. And also their Ethereum address, the ID, is it a passport, is it a driver's license? There's a lot of stuff you need to figure out in order to, build this user registration system. So here's an example of KYC User Registration. This is actually just a demo site that I have at crowdsaledemo.com that I show my new clients, where I can kind of demo the KYC User Registration system that I have. If you click this Buy Tokens button, it actually takes you there, and this shows you the workflow that investors see whenever they want to sign up. So they submit their information. You can submit ID documents and things like that. And this is a very high converting registration step that looks really nice and that people have actual confidence in. And like I said, your website needs to look really good. People need to trust it, because if they don't, there's no way they're going to give you personal information in order to participate in your ICO. All right, so that's all I got for today. That's an overview of the checklist of everything that you need in order to launch a successful ICO. And again, you can click the link down below to download this checklist for free on my website over at dappuniversity.com. So again, I hope you all like this video. If you're new around here, be sure to subscribe to this channel and click the like button down below. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.